is here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I'm going to play for you a series of clips. And when I play them, I want you to think, what do they really mean? What is being said? What is being communicated? About Iran, from Iran. And you, Mr. and Mrs. America, when you're done listening to them, what do you think it all means? Because I think I know. And I tell you this without any inside information. Let's start with the Iranian foreign minister today. Cut one, go.
I can say that we made good progress after several hours of intensive negotiation. We have started serious discussions about elements of a deal, both in the field of nuclear issues and the removal of sanctions.
Now that's very interesting because their leader, Khomeini, publicly stated they will never give up their nuclear program, they will never give up the uranium, they will never give up their missiles. Nothing. Now he's in charge last time I checked. And this is typical of this regime. Typical. He makes those statements for the press and to try and place pressure on our administration. Here's the president outside the White House today. Cut two, go.
How are the talks going with Iran? What's the problem?
No, I'm not. I'm not happy with the fact that they're not willing to give us what we have to have. So I'm not thrilled with that. We'll see what happens. We're talking later. We'll have some additional talks today. But no, I'm not happy with the way they're going.
He's not happy with the way talks are going. He gave him 10 days. This is day number 8. In some ways, it seems like a rerun of June, doesn't it, Mr. Producer? Except this time, there will be no pinprick strikes, not with the kind of armadas, plural, we have in that region. That's my intuition. I have no inside information. I would never ask for it, and certainly I would never receive it. Cut 3, outside the White House again. President Trump, go.
You've been briefed on for Iran. Is there a risk that strikes could turn into a long, drawn-out conflict in the Middle East?
I guess you could say there's always a risk. You know, when there's war, there's a risk in anything, both good and bad. We've had tremendous luck with myself, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi. Everything's worked out, and then we do the Midnight Hammer and so many others. Everything's worked out, and we want to keep it that way. But we're going to see. Look, it'd be wonderful if they'd negotiate really in good conscience, good faith and conscience. But they are not getting there. So far, Peter, they're not getting there.
And has your team told you that if you use the military now, that there will be regime change right away?
No, nobody's told me that. You don't know. I mean, nobody knows. There might be, and there might not be. It'd be nice if we could do it without, but sometimes you have to do it with. When you looked at we have the greatest military anywhere in the world. There's nothing close. I'd love not to use it, but sometimes you have to.
That's the most important segment of them all, don't you think, Mr. Producer? Okay, digest that. Here's the president in Corpus Christi, Texas today. Cut 18, go.
Have a message for Iran.
Well, they should make a deal, but they don't want to quite go far enough, and it's too bad. Look, we've been playing with them for 47 years, and that's a long time. They've been blowing the legs off our people, blowing the face off our people, the arms. They've been knocking out ships one by one. But every month there's something else, so you can't put up with it too long. We're not happy with the negotiation. They just don't want to. They don't want to say the key words. We're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They have to say we're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and they just can't quite get there. They want to enrich a little bit. You don't have to enrich when you have that much oil. So I'm not happy with the negotiation. I say no enrichment. Not 20%, 30%. They always want 20%, 30%. They want it for civilian, for civil. I think it's uncivil. So I'm not happy with it, no.
Now, you're sitting as I am listening to this, America. One more clip, then we'll break it down. Same place, Corpus Christi, just a few hours ago. Cut 19, go.
How close are you to making a decision on strikes?
I'd rather not tell you. You would have had the greatest scoop in history, right? Well, they're going. I mean, we're negotiating right now, but they're not getting to the right answer. And we're not going to see people. We're not going to see what's happened for 47 years keep going. 47 years we've been doing this with them. The Obama deal was the worst deal. Nobody ever saw a deal so stupid. Right now, if you did the Obama deal, if that held, if I didn't terminate it, Iran would have a nuclear weapon, and it would be a whole different ballgame.
Are you concerned that striking Iran?
That Obama deal was one of the worst, one of the dumbest deals I've ever seen. Yep. First of all, it was very short term. It would long be over. You know that. Would be not. I terminated it, but if I didn't, it would be over by now anyway. But the Obama deal, what he did was one of the dumber deals. I've seen a lot of dumb deals. That would be one of the dumber deals.
Mm-hmm. We're going to take a little break, a little bit early. I want you to come back. We're going to analyze what just took place. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
On top of those clips that I played for you, the Communist Chinese have told all of its people to get out of Iran immediately. The British have done the same thing. All non-essential American personnel in Israel have been told to leave. It's all published. I'm going to play those last two clips for you one more time. I'm going to do something I rarely do. The phone line, I'm going to open to any calls. Tell me what you think is going to take place and why. So I'm going to play just the last two, not all five again. Here's the president, Corpus Christi, today in Texas, just a few hours ago. Cut 18, go.
You have a message for Iran.
Well, they should make a deal, but they don't want to quite go far enough, and it's too bad. Look, we've been playing with them for 47 years, and that's a long time. They've been blowing the legs off our people, blowing the face off our people, the arms. They've been knocking out ships one by one. But every month there's something else, so you can't put up with it too long. We're not happy with the negotiation. They just don't want to. They don't want to say the key words. We're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They have to say we're not going to have a nuclear weapon, and they just can't quite get there. They want to enrich a little bit. You don't have to enrich when you have that much oil. So I'm not happy with the negotiation. I say no enrichment. Not 20%, 30%. They always want 20%, 30%. They want it for civilian, for civil. I think it's uncivil. So I'm not happy with it now.
And you can see and hear the change in his tone. Complete change in his tone. Complete change. One more clip, then I'm going to go to you folks. Cut 19, go.
How close are you to making a decision on strikes?
I'd rather not tell you. You would have had the greatest scoop in history, right? Well, they're going. I mean, we're negotiating right now, but they're not getting to the right answer. And we're not going to see people. We're not going to see what's happened for 47 years keep going. 47 years we've been doing this with them. The Obama deal was the worst deal. Nobody ever saw a deal so stupid. Right now, if you did the Obama deal, if that held, if I didn't terminate it, Iran would have a nuclear weapon, and it would be a whole different ballgame. That Obama deal was one of the worst, one of the dumbest deals I've ever seen. Yep. First of all, it was very short term. It would long be over. You know that. Would be not. I terminated it, but if I didn't, it would be over by now anyway. But the Obama deal, what he did was one of the dumber deals. I've seen a lot of dumb deals. That would be one of the dumber deals.
Also, he was asked, what about oil prices? They might spike. He says, I'm not thinking about oil prices. What do you think, Mr. Producer? What's that? What do you think? You think it's inevitable? I'd be curious to know what the audience thinks. 877-381-3811. I have no information. Anybody who writes and says I do, I don't. I haven't talked to the president in a couple of weeks, maybe a week, and nothing to do with this either. I heard what he said. I'm listening to the tone. If I had to guess, and I will guess, he's already decided. He may have already issued the order. I'm not saying it'll happen in 13 seconds. I'm saying he may already have issued the order for the right time to act. That's what I think must be going on. And I could be dead wrong. But I have a lot of faith in this man. He knows right from wrong. He knows what he's dealing with. He just said it. I do not have a lot of faith in isolationists that are speckled throughout the administration, who've been leaking to Axios and Politico and the Washington Post and other reprobate so-called news outlets. They'd rather have a scoop than protect our military and our president's decision-making process. There are traitors among us. Traitors. Inside the government and outside. Like Megyn Kelly, in my humble opinion. Like Tucker Carlson, in my humble opinion. Like Bloated Bannon, in my humble opinion. I think they are betrayers. They like to interview each other. They like to try and threaten and intimidate people with whom they disagree. With me, it just makes me stronger. Makes me more aggressive. It truly does. Now, that's my supposition that things are going to happen. Again, based on nothing direct, just on what you heard in the media I'm reading about countries pulling out their people. Also, however, it's been reported that the Secretary of State will go to Israel on Monday. That could be a head fake, maybe not. And that there is supposed to be negotiations next week. That could be a head fake, maybe not. If I'm right, they are head fakes. This president has given this regime time and again, and in my view, an awful lot of time and again, to make a deal with him. And they're very stupid not to make a deal with him. Because he earnestly would rather not pull the trigger. How do we know it? He's told us over and over again. He tells us what he thinks. He's not playing games. So my belief that it's just a matter of time. And by that, I don't mean a lot of time. I mean a very tight window. By hearing what he just said a few hours ago, Corpus Christi, and what he said outside the White House next to the helicopter, I don't think you need to be Nostradamus. I really don't. That's my opinion. If none of you have an opinion, that's fine too. But that's my opinion, based on what I heard. And if he does that, of course, he'll be attacked by the Democrats, because the Democrats hate America. The Democrats talk about authoritarianism because they are authoritarians. You don't hear them condemning the Islamist Nazi regime and what it's done to the people of Persia. If you do, it's a rarity. It's like staccato for people who follow music. A little here, a little there, but it's not consistent. In fact, the chorus in this song is, "Don't go to war with Iran." Well, here's a dirty little secret. Iran's been at war with us for 47 years. And we've done very little in response. 47 years. But now they're weaker than ever, thanks to the people of Iran, thanks to the Israeli government and Netanyahu and the IDF, who the Jew haters hate, of course, thanks to the United States military and our equipment and our bombers. Two great men, President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu. This is a regime on its back. It doesn't mean it can't fire missiles, of course. More when I return.
Mark Levin, tough as hell.
That's why I like Mark Levin. And I'm not sure a lot of people like him. He's tough as hell. But I like him. I love him.
Call in now. 877-381-3811.
All right. Mr. and Mrs. America, New Mexico, Nevada, Arizona, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, and more. George, Farmington, New Mexico, the great KENN. What do you make of all this, George?
Well, sir, I agree with your conclusions for all the reasons that you eliminated, and for another very important reason that I think most people are missing and are oblivious to in this discussion. And that is, religiously, these Iranian mullahs, they want to get into a war with the great Satan, because their conviction is if they get into a righteous war with the great Satan, that will trigger, in their theology, that will trigger the coming of their messianic figure, who they call the Mahdi. And of course, in their expectation, this Mahdi will come and win the war and establish Islam around the world and do all the things that they expect him to do. But so that's why, and I don't think they're going to affirm that, quote, uranium enrichment is a sovereign right. They're not going to take that kind of a hard line and then back down to some deal. It would make them look weak. So I don't see them backing down, and I think Trump is definitely, this is not a man who says he's going to do something and doesn't do it.
I agree with you. He's the right man at the right time, and so is Netanyahu for Israel. And these two men are very, very close, despite all the leaks by the traitors who are leaking, some of them, I guess, in the White House, some of them wherever they may be. It's just not true. I know both of those men. Excellent call, George. Thank you very much. Let's go to Michelle, Lords Valley, Pennsylvania, on the Mark Levin app. How are you?
I'm good, Mark. It's an honor to speak to you.
Thank you.
Mark, my opinion is that we will strike, absolutely. And I think that anyone who disagrees, just historically, maybe they're not old enough. I'm 61. I remember what happened with Carter. I think that when Obama made that deal, that's what pulled me into politics, because you just had to look at it and say, how, why? It's beyond the dumbest deal ever. It was evil. Trump is a man of his word. I think he's been patient. And I definitely think that we're going to strike. And I wouldn't have an issue with it at all, because their motto, death to America. I mean, you don't just build nuclear sites and enrich uranium, for no reason.
No, look what they do to their own people. They wouldn't think twice about trying to blow us off the face of the earth. That's why they're trying to build these things. You're so right.
I mean, that's the only reason that they're building it. And if anyone denies that, they're either young, foolish, or anti-American.
Very good call. Thank you very much, Michelle. Let's go to Gordy, Sioux Falls, Arizona. Wait, I thought Sioux Falls was in Idaho.
No, it's South Dakota.
South Dakota. Is that where you are?
Yep.
Well, we have Arizona up there. All right.
Yes, sir.
On the Mark Levin app, how are you?
No, good. It's great to talk to you. I listen to you every day.
Thank you.
I think Trump's going to hit him hard. And I don't blame him, because this is, enough's enough at some point.
What do you make of these people that keep saying we're going to war? These people keep attacking us. We haven't bothered them. They kill our soldiers. They kill our citizens. They're funding terrorism. They're trying to assassinate our president. I mean, we're not the provocateurs. We're not the warmongers. They are. What do you think about people who switch the propaganda and attack their own country in a time like this?
Well, to quote the president, I think they're nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I think those people are nuts, and I hope he goes in there and cleans house and lets the people of Iran do what's
They'll
best
decide.
for them.
Let them decide. But the problem is, this regime is a terrorist organization that's taken over a country, steals the resources from the people, uses it to enrich themselves. There's several billionaires at the top. And as far as we're concerned, uses those resources and pours it into ballistic missiles, hypersonic technology, nuclear warheads, chemical warheads, biological warheads. Can you imagine this 7th century primitive barbarian regime that believes only they should exist and that Allah tells them to destroy everyone and everything else? With these kinds of weapons, is it not utterly irresponsible when we hear people talk about us starting a war with Iran?
Well, yeah, the time has come when this has got to come to an end now, and it's because they're never going to stop. I mean, they've been doing this a long time,
and that's a crucially important point. You can sign whatever papers you want. We already did under the Obama regime, and they were violating the agreement left and right. They don't feel any compunction about keeping their agreement. There's a word called taqiyya. And this is a word that the Islamists use. And what it means is you can deceive and lie and connive to advance the cause of the faith, in this case, the fundamentalists. So the only reason that they wouldn't sign something is because they don't want to have their own military, their own guardsmen, as they call them, I suppose, Republican Guard, yeah, right, Islamist guards, to turn on them. So they may not be able to sign anything. But the fact of the matter is, sign or no sign, to me, this is all pointless, unless, of course, the president's using it as a tactic, which I really believe he is.
It's just like the great Toby Keith would say, we'll put a boot in your behind. It's the American way.
Yeah, no, you're right. All right, brother, another great call. Let's go to J.D. Listen to that. J.D. Vance is calling us from Las Vegas. No. A different J.D. Las Vegas on the Mark Levin app. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great now that I'm talking to you, and thanks for giving me the opportunity. I'm familiar with Takia, and I want to say that President Trump says what he means and means what he says. And if there's one general in Iran who can tell these mullahs, hey, he took out Magawi or Dagawi, and he took out the other general terrorist that killed our guys. He put a bomb, like the last guy said, Toby Keith, down their butt to destroy their nuclear capability. President Trump talks like I think maybe you and I would talk in private. He's blunt. He's not. He's not a political using euphemisms like other presidents and other secretaries of state. He talks plain, simple language. And the language he's speaking to these people, I've done it to you before. When I said I was going to do it, I did it in Venezuela in 2 hours. Those 37-hour flights from Missouri with those B-2 bombers, we showed you what we could do. Now, the only hope I have, if he pulls the trigger, Mark, I think they have to go all the way with Netanyahu in Israel and anybody else, maybe an Arab country or two, and they have to go and do it and end it once and for all. They can't do half measures like Ronald Reagan used to say. It has to be full-out, total victory, sir.
No, you're 100% right. They got to be taken out. There needs to be regime change. And I got to believe they understand that. Because if they're, I don't think you put together armadas, plural, like that for pinpricks. They got to go after Khomeini, in addition to all the military activity and sites and so forth. But they've got to go after Khomeini. Don't you agree?
I agree, but I don't know how the intricacies, unless the CIA and the Israeli Mossad is going to have boots on the ground underneath in the country doing things.
Well,
like
they had boots on the ground last time, apparently, all over the place, and they even flipped some Iranian intel and military personnel.
The last thing I want to see, Mark, is our boys going in. And
well, there aren't going to be our boys. We don't have the Army there. We don't have the Marines there. So that's not going to happen. They're not there. We have our Air Force and we have our Navy, and we may have some special forces and intel people and that sort of thing, but we don't have an Army there.
No, I know. But we got Raisin Cane doing it and Hegstick doing it. I think we got the right people in the right places to do the job and just to finish them off once and for all and put that country on the straight and narrow where they become part of the world in a peaceful way. Because I believe the Iranian people are good people other than the whack jobs.
No, you're correct. Excellent call. Thank you, my friend. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Friday, but we never put our foot on the gas, on the brakes. We never tap the brakes. We go full throttle. Our foot is on the gas pedal. Well, the phones are burning up, and for good reason, of course. Ken, Louisville, Kentucky, the great WKJK. Go right ahead, please. I don't hear him.
I'm pretty sure it's WKJJ.
Okay, sorry about that. Guys, we got to get this right. WKJJ, go right ahead. I apologize to the affiliate.
Hello, Mark.
There.
Good evening.
Good evening.
No, you're fine, Mark. I believe President Trump will strike them, and I certainly hope President Trump will strike them. I was telling your call screener, when I was in high school, it's been about almost 50 years ago, I became friends with quite a few Iranians that had come over to this country because of various persecutions. And one of my friends, and he's actually become a lifelong friend and one of my best friends, his father was part of the Shah of Iran's government. And his dad was imprisoned, and they ultimately executed him. So prior to these Islamist crazy radicals coming into power, when it was the Shah of Iran, Iran was a very good friend to the United States. An ally, almost, I'd say. And you're right, the Persian people, and they are Persians, they're very well educated. They have a lot of the same Western cultural, I would say, values. They're entrepreneurial. They're just really good people. Now, are some of them radical, crazy nut jobs? Yes, they are. But I don't think that's the main populace of the country.
No, the vast majority are not. The radical, crazy nut jobs are running the government there.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So I believe, as you've asked, I believe President Trump will strike. I hope he will strike. He'll probably be criticized for it. But in the long run...
By the way, that's an important point. He will be attacked by the woke right, neo-fascist isolationists, too, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I will remind everybody...
The Tucker Carlson types and the Bannon types and the Megyn Kelly types.
Well, in his first term, when the Iranians shot down, I believe it was one of our drones, he had, I believe, fighters in the air, and he was going to hit them. And Bolton was a big guy that wanted to, start all kinds of trouble. And if I'm right, and I think I am, Trump pulled that back because his reasoning was, well, we lost some hardware. I don't know that it's an even-Steven trade hardware for killing people. So anyone that wants to claim that President Trump is a warmonger and all the other garbage that they accuse President Trump of, they're just wrong. I don't think President always talked about Ukraine.
No, and you know what? I'm sick of people framing it the way you're pointing out that they frame it, not you, them. We're not starting anything. We've been under attack in one form or another for 47 damn years by these terrorists. And there's a line beyond which they cannot go. They just can't cross it, and they've crossed it. They've crossed it with their genocide. They've crossed it by trying to assassinate him more than once. The trial today was really remarkable, the information that came out, how they hired people to assassinate our president. And that's in 2024. That's last year in order to affect the election. And that they're building these weapons to wipe us off the face of the earth, and they mean it. People need to understand their mindset, 7th century. And as I said repeatedly, if they're willing to kill 50,000 of their own people with a blink of an eye, and they'd kill 1 million if they felt they had to, they are going to launch nuclear missiles against us. But I'll ask you this. As a father and a husband, if you are, or grandfather, if you are, would you even leave it to risk, to chance, to allow it to take place?
No, I'm just a husband, but I've got plenty of nieces and nephews that a lot of them feel like my own children, Mark. But I agree completely. The greatest generation, when they were called upon, they went, and they didn't question anything. And now it's this generation's time, because you're exactly right. If they would be able to develop a nuclear weapon, whether they could put it on a ballistic missile or put it into some type of a suitcase and smuggle it in here, they absolutely would do that.
They'll do it because they believe God is telling them to do it. That there can be no other religion, there cannot be any other interpretation of their religion, that in fact there can't be any other people with any other beliefs on the face of the earth, and this is what they mean in their faith by the end times. The end times are here. We'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. This is Radio Free America, where we breathe patriotism. We eat patriotism. We have other people who have microphones, many of them podcasters, who have a big following of bots, of Islamists overseas in particular, Klansmen, neo-Nazis. Now, we talked in the first hour about whether we think the president is going to take action against Iran. And to a caller, the answer is yes. And in this audience, it's obvious, filled with great patriots. Really America first. We want that regime taken out for several reasons, not the least of which is our own national security and defense of our generation. That is the next generation and the generation after that. And yes, we've had enough of this slaughter of the Persian people in Iran. We've had enough of the terrorism. We've had enough of the threats against our president and the assassination attempts. These Islamists have committed multiple acts of war. And for the most part, we've done very little in response. In fact, the only president that's taken action, two of them really, were Reagan and Trump. Two of the greatest presidents in my lifetime. And then we have to hear from the soft underbelly, actually, the bleeding hemorrhoid of the American body politic. Grifters. Pimps for the enemy. Pimps for the enemy. They interview each other. They promote each other. And in order to keep up their numbers, their number of eyes, that's what the payment is based on, they say the most outrageous things. And they always start with Jews in Israel. But here's the bottom line. The president makes the decision. The president has his foreign policy. We voted for the president. We have faith and trust in the president. We just spent the last hour explaining why we think he will take action, because there's really no alternative in the end. And he will come under criticism from Carlson, from Bloated Bannon, from Facelift Kelly. That's her name from now on. She looks like she's had more facelifts than Pelosi. Boy, they hate me. You know, they were trashing me all day today. I don't listen to them. I didn't know. People are sending me stuff. Did you know that, Mr. Producer? He's irrelevant. He's old. Nobody... Then stop talking about me. They fear me. They fear me. That's why they can't stop talking about it. They're jealous. They're jealous. I love the way they talk about age. I think I'm like 8 or 10 years older than them, and they pretend they're cool. You know, they're young. They're not. No amount of hair extensions, new dresses, whitened teeth, facelifts makes it any different. Makes it any different. In fact, Carlson looks to me like he's transitioning. I don't know from what to what, but it's one or the other. But all that aside, these people will join the Marxist left, will join the Islamists and attack the President of the United States. They are constantly stabbing him in the back. The leaks coming out from the isolationists within the administration are intended to undermine the president and limit his decisions. The president makes the final decision. Nobody under him makes the decision, elected or appointed. He makes the decision. Thank God. And if the decision has been made, as we hope it has and we believe it has, to defend ourselves against these warmongers, we will need to defend our president against this cabal of neo-fascists, Marxists, and Islamists. And we will. That's America first. That's America first. These buffoons, these fools, they're undermining our commander-in-chief. They're undermining our military. They're undermining our country. There's a reason why the Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran has more than once, I understand even yesterday, are playing comments from Tarlson that he's made, that we don't have enough weapons, as he trashes our country. Nobody plays, Facelift Kelly's stuff because nobody cares, to be perfectly honest with you. And today, bloated Bannon, convicted felon, confessed felon. Should I call him Epstein Bannon from now on, Mr. Producer? I think I will. He's a guy that's all over Epstein. He won't release his video. He goes back to the war room. The only war going on with that guy's in his pants. Look at him. Complete slob. But look, who am I to be so rude to somebody like that? So he has a guest on who is a mouthpiece for the enemy. Is a guest on who's a mouthpiece for the enemy when we're a couple of blinks away from a potential military campaign against them to defend ourselves. This is what I mean. These people are not pro-American. They're un-American. They're constantly trashing our country. Constantly. And if the president decides to deal with this, they'll undermine him. They're undermining him right now. And they have friends in the administration who they conspire with, who they work with. This won't go on forever. That can't last. That can't last. Anybody Tarlson is aligned with, is friends with him, who relies on you and me, Mr. and Mrs. America, our votes. They're not going to get our votes. They're not. We love our country. Some of you have fought for the country. Some of you have family members who fought for the country. The president loves our country. He defends our country. He's not an isolationist. That's pretty obvious even right now, is he? He rejects these Islamists. His family members who are Jews. Obviously, family members who are Christian. He's Christian. We're not going to put up with the poison. We're not going to put up with these people, handful of them. They're living off their past. Some of them got big because they were on Fox, and that's all they have. Because most of them are disgruntled former employees of some major corporation. And as I've discussed with you before, the whole podcasting world, the problem with the model, if you really want to maintain a huge audience, you have to appeal to Islamists in Pakistan, to governments who will use bots, to the lowest of the lowlives in our country. You have to appeal to them with your cancerous, metastasizing vulgarity and vile. I dare you, if you have an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 7-year-old and so forth, to have them listen to Facelift Kelly. You'd be covering their ears all the time. She's so foul. She talks like a drunken sailor. Worse than a drunken sailor. Just a drunk. With those F-bombs and F. Oh, she's cool. She's cool. And then when they interview each other, that's like dumb talking to dumber. But these people are undermining our country. They're undermining the president as commander-in-chief. They're undermining our military. And they give aid and comfort to the enemy. It's that simple. They're not using their platforms or their audiences for good. Because they're relying on so many other people to make them money. You see, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I diversify. I don't have to rely on one thing to do anything. I simply don't. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know what Pure Talk's favorite holiday is? President's Day, because they believe wireless service should only cost you a couple of presidents. Just a Jackson and a Lincoln, to be exact. For $25 a month, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Now compare that to Big Wireless. They'd rather celebrate Benjamin Franklin Day so they can charge your family hundreds every month, and he wasn't even a president. That's not right. You deserve better. Pure Talk is an American wireless company that supports our veterans and invests in a U.S.-only customer service team. When you call, you're talking to someone right here at home. Pure Talk uses the same towers as the big carriers, so enjoy superior 5G coverage without the inflated price. Just $25 a month for talk, text, plenty of data, no contract, no cancellation fee. Don't wait any longer, folks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk. All right, with us, one of the go-to folks, Robert Greenway. He's outstanding, director of the Allison Center for National Security Heritage. Robert Greenway, I've played some of the clips of the president today, and I'd be shocked if he didn't make up his mind that we're going in. Have you listened to what he said today, and what is your take?
I did, Mark, and like you, I think he's been remarkably consistent about this, and I think the Iranians have not recognized the fact that they're dealing with a different president, and that, in fact, they've got a lot less wiggle room, and I think they've negotiated themselves out of any potential deal, and I think the use of force is, in fact, imminent and probably the right answer. And I'd also add that I don't think this is a war. A war requires two parties capable of doing it, and I think in this case, Iran has shown itself to be completely incapable.
And this is necessary, isn't it? I mean, we've had this Obama deal, and they have violated it left and right and top to bottom, and their ideology is such that they don't feel they have to honor any agreement they sign.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, in theory, a negotiated agreement on acceptable terms would be possible, but in theory only. In practice, they've never been able to demonstrate the willingness, the appetite to do it. And I think also under the circumstances, the supreme leader, closer to death than he is, I think, to a long-lasting legacy, is incapable, I think, of reversing his positions. And again, I also don't think they recognize the president they're negotiating with, and for some reason think that he might not use force again. But you're absolutely right. They can't be trusted. They're not a reliable partner for negotiating. They've shown only that they're willing to undermine every agreement and exploit every vulnerability. And I would also add that at this point in time, I don't think it warrants the risk. Like, it takes tremendous expense to put forces in the region again and again to deal with this problem. It'd be a lot more efficient if we didn't have to. And I think declining and decrementing their capacity to the point where it's within the capacity of our partners and allies, chiefly Israel, I think makes a great deal of sense, so that we don't have to continue this process of resurrecting and reintroducing forces into the region every time we turn around.
And doesn't it also have a positive effect vis-a-vis our position in China that relies a lot on their oil, and Russia that relies on their drones and so forth? This is part of that access that really has built up over time, not just focused on Israel and Europe, focused on the United States.
Well, it's 100% right. You hit upon.
Hold on one second. Rich, are we having a problem with the audio there? All right, let's kick it up. Go ahead.
No, you're exactly right, Mark. You've hit upon the most important strategic point, that this isn't something that exists in isolation. Iran's not just a threat to us and Israel. That's true. But more importantly, it does supply some 40+% of the oil that China needs to supply its economy, and most importantly, its military. And it competes with and in many ways mitigates the effects of Russian oil exports. And so what the president is doing in Venezuela and Iran is as important relative to our adversaries in Moscow and Beijing. And in the end, being able to deny access to our adversaries of the strategic resources required for them to survive and manage their economies becomes incredibly important. And so the president is playing literally 3D chess here, and all in the right ways. And you're right, reducing this threat is absolutely in the U.S. interest.
Now, you're looking at this so-called battlefield, And the Iranians don't really have an air force to speak of. They don't have much of a navy to speak of. They've got several thousand ballistic missiles, and that was part of the problem. They're building them as fast as they can, and obviously the president sees that, and he knows that. And they're trying to restart, and apparently effectively, their nuclear program in other locations. Now, if you're wanting to put an end to this regime as quickly as possible, you go after Khomeini, I assume. What would Robert do?
Well, I think my count of the president under the current circumstances are to do three things. The first is eliminate the retaliatory capacity. Right, the threat for them to reach out and hit U.S. diplomatic military facilities, civilian populations, Israel, and our partners and allies, critical energy infrastructure and trade in the region. And that, incidentally, is a significant part. 25% of global trade, 40% of the world's energy market. We have to eliminate their ability to threaten that, number one. Number two, I think what we want to do is degrade their nuclear program even more than what Midnight Hammer do. So instead of setting it back 2 years, we set it back a decade. And then lastly, I would think the final card to play is to prevent the regime from suppressing its population, which is the siege and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and also the control of the telecommunications network that China has helped to support the Iranian regime to build. That prevents them from communicating with each other in the outside world. I think those three things thematically reduce the threat and also put Iran in a position where it can no longer spend the resources threatening its neighbors in the United States and has to deal with its internal security problem, and potentially allows the Iranian people, for the first time in almost 50 years, the ability to determine their own future.
I mean, there's been some reports about targeting Khomeini. Would that not be on your list?
To be honest with you, up in place than not. One, he's isolated and hiding and evading and preventing exposing himself to targeting, which is a futile effort, but nonetheless, I think a self-preservation step. Second, he's not in good health. He's, again, far closer to the grave than he is to a long-lasting legacy, and that prevents him from making effective decisions. And three, I think he's ideologically predisposed and surrounded by individuals that are providing bad counsel, preventing them from finding a path out of this. And so I think in many ways, he is making it harder for the regime in its current form to survive. If he were eliminated, he might be replaced by someone who is more closely aligned with and picked perhaps by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and might be a more effective leader. So I think in this sense, I would not be terribly fixated on.
Yeah, but if he dies, he's going to be replaced too, of natural causes.
That's right, he is. But I would say in this case, it might be better to leave him in place and make bad decisions or no decision at all than to allow him the opportunity to be replaced. In other words, I'm not too worried about what Khamenei does with very little cards in his hands. I am, on the other hand, worried about the capacity of anyone to be able to retaliate. And that's why I think I would select different targets.
No, I don't disagree with you, but I keep reading, particularly from others who know this area of the world, that entire regime is built around him, loyalty to him, then loyalty to his son and family, that he's got a successor in waiting, that he's already made those decisions. So if that's all true, to some extent anyway, if you take him out and you're working on that inner circle, you know, the way the Israelis took out like the nuclear experts and so forth and so on, I feel that might have an impact, in fact. But look, it's not one or the other. Do you feel like we have overwhelming assets in the area? As a matter of fact, Robert, hold on. I'd like to carry you through the break. And the question is, do you feel like we have overwhelming assets there that they can fire back and try and hit Israel and try and hit our carriers, which is very important, that we do everything we can to prevent it. But that we have the overwhelming power to overwhelm them and overwhelm them in a couple of weeks. We'll be right back. You know what Pure Talk's favorite holiday is? President's Day. Because they believe wireless service should only cost you a couple of presidents. Just a Jackson and a Lincoln, to be exact. For $25 a month, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Now compare that to Big Wireless. They'd rather celebrate Benjamin Franklin Day so they can charge your family hundreds every month, and he wasn't even a president. That's not right. You deserve better. Pure Talk is an American wireless company that supports our veterans and invests in a U.S.-only customer service team. When you call, you're talking to someone right here at home. Pure Talk uses the same towers as the big carriers, so enjoy superior 5G coverage coverage without the inflated price. Just $25 a month for talk, text, plenty of data, no contract, no cancellation fee. Don't wait any longer, folks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
We're here with our friend Robert Greenway, director of the Allison Center for National Security and Heritage, and really an expert in the entire Middle East. So what do you think of the military assets we've put in place? Pretty impressive? Uh-oh. I don't hear him at all, Mr. Producer. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Had some technical difficulties tonight. Maybe the Russians or the North Koreans or the Iranians, or who knows. Robert, are you there, sir? Oh, they're checking on himself. Should I answer my own question, Mr. Producer? I think we have a very more than impressive array of military assets in that area. See, the problem with delaying, even to this point, but delaying more, is that the Chinese are trying to provide as quickly as they can certain deadly assets to the Iranians, and they've had over 50 of their biggest transport planes, and they're massive like ours, bringing God knows what, and people are starting to think maybe they're sort of hypersonic missiles that they've developed to attack our carriers. However, they've never actually been used, so we're not sure. Okay, Robert, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
What do you make of the assets that we have in the region? It's pretty impressive.
It is. I think we've got now estimates run about 40 to 45,000 troops, 2 carrier strike groups, a significant amount of air defense assets to protect our bases and infrastructure, our partners and allies, a significant amount of global strike present from both the U.S. and in the region, including the deployment for the first time to Israel of the F-22 Raptors.
All right, hold on one second. How come we're not deploying these things? I'm told that a lot of the equipment we have in Qatar, a lot of the air power we have is being moved out of Qatar. Some of it into Israel. What's that all about?
Yeah, well, you'd want to have your assets outside of the range of the preponderance of Iran's short-range and medium-range ballistic missiles. So it's a little too close to Iran to be defendable in a productive way. It's much more practical for us to have them outside of the bulk of Iran's missile threat. And so Israel makes a great deal more sense. They're not immune, but they're much easier to defend in Israel than they would be from Qatar, which in the end was established really as a base to support operations in Iraq, not Iran. But we do have a tremendous amount of force capable, more than capable enough to deal with the Iranian threat and retaliation, ostensibly between the United States and Israel. And so that's not an issue. It's not, as some would portray it, one of the most significant deployments. We've had over 200,000 troops deployed in 2011 to the Middle East as a whole, with about 3.5 carrier strike groups on a rotational basis. So historically, it's not near the apogee, but it's more than sufficient to deal with the Iranian threat. And as we discussed before, this is not something we want to repeat. So it's in our best interest to deal with this threat and deal with it decisively.
Let me ask you a side issue, but a crucial issue, too. As we watched our forces move from one place to another, unmolested, if we were in a war setting with, let's say, China, they would not be unmolested. It took some time for even the lead forces to get there, the USS Abraham Lincoln. My question to you is this. Is our military big enough?
That is a great question, Mark. The answer is no. We're just about to publish the 11th consecutive index of U.S. military strength. We just completed an artificial intelligence protracted conflict simulation with China. And in both cases, we determined that the military is not sized properly to deal with a single pacing peer threat like China, let alone 2 major regional contingencies like we are likely to face in the future. And so the answer is no. And we have overextended our available fleet And so as the Ford enters in, it's about to set the record for the longest deployment of a carrier strike group because we've probably got perhaps half of the carriers that we need in the operational fleet.
How many carriers do we have?
I believe the number is 14, and operationally speaking, less than that are available, less than half at any given time.
That's crazy. The president wants to spend $500 billion more. I agree with him. I mean, Reagan had it up to slightly over 5% of the GDP. Where is it now? About 3%, I guess?
Yeah, it's under 3%. If the president, if his request, which we expect to drop in the month of March, gets to the $1.5 trillion mark, which, by the way, is the agreement we managed to get from our NATO partners to get to 5% of GDP, it would be the first time since the early Reagan years that we've done it. But look, the threats are I think factually greater than a single threat from the Soviet Union. China is far more capable, and now we still face the Russian Federation as well as China, in addition to Iran and others. So we're arguably facing a greater array of threats with a diminished degree of spending on our military and diminished capacity, which has been degraded now for decades.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, when we're sitting watching the carrier group moving and moving, I said, what's going on here? The reason is we don't have enough of them. And so they got to bring it from one part of the world to the other part of the world. And again, they're not under fire. They're not being interceded at all. It's just a trip from one point to another point, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's easy. You got to have supplies. You got to do all that. That's not my point. My point is, assuming all that, you can't have carriers moving halfway around the world like this. It just isn't going to be fast enough.
No, that's exactly right. And while the carriers are surprisingly the biggest, but also some of the fastest ships in the inventory, they require a tremendous amount of escort, which in many cases are not nearly as fast, and all of which require a significant amount of supplies and material. The carriers are nuclear, but the escort vessels are not. And our ability to project and sustain forces is significantly diminished. And our forward infrastructure, the fuel and ammunition forward deployed to supply them, has also diminished. And all of that complicates the deployment. And our munitions numbers are recognizably low. So even, in any scenario where we attack Iran, we've got sufficient munitions. The problem is, do we have enough then to deal with a potential Chinese threat in 2027? Mm-hmm. And the answer right now is no.
Jeez. How about from an industrial perspective, the private sector building these various components and so forth? How was that?
Well, President Trump and Congress have done the right thing, and one big beautiful bill included a significant amount of munitions buy. The subsequent NDA had a fair bit. A lot are projected for this year, but most of what we need in the conflict take at least 12 months or more to make. And the industrial complex is right now configured to build too little, too slow. The demand will help an enormous amount, but a significant amount of regulatory obstacles and frankly, tax burdens will have to be removed from industry to allow them to expand capacity significantly. That's happening, and it's happening because the president has decided to restore peace through strength, but it's not happening fast enough, and more is definitely going to be required.
And the Democrats fight it every damn step of the way, don't they?
Well, it's it's in too many states where the cost of construction is 230 times what the cost of building a facility is, and so that burden makes it almost impossible to make things in the United States, including those things we need for national security purposes. So we've definitely got to come to grips with that fact. And you're right, it happens unfortunately all too often, and it happens in blue states with almost without exception.
It's crazy. It's crazy how people think of national security, like that it's somehow some welfare program or it shouldn't be prioritized. And we rarely talk about the necessity of our military and what kind of force structure we need, as that is the media and the public, because it's just not presented. It's not reported. Aren't you amazed by that?
I really am. I think we've become complacent. We're comfortable with the fact that we've got the most capable military in the world, which is absolutely true. But at the same time, we've been making withdrawals from a bank account, and we haven't been making deposits. And that has left us in an insolvent sort of position. And you're right. Look, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are in the right sequence. And if you're not alive, the others don't matter. And so the Constitution, bears responsibility for national defense as the preeminent. And I think that's an area where, one, we have the most responsibility, and two, we're arguably the most negligent. It's the other areas of spending that are difficult to find in the Constitution, I think, that have depleted our resources. But you're absolutely right. It's amazing it hasn't gotten the attention that it deserves.
All right. I don't want to ask you a ridiculous question, so let me ask you a semi-ridiculous question. When do you feel something might happen? Within a week, I would say, if not within a few days.
Yeah, I think that's about right. It's a significant expenditure and deployment of forces. It's not done accidentally. It is now sufficient to address the threat, so the theater is set and prepared to execute the president's options. I think we don't have long to wait. And the Iranians have been, in this case, more than cooperative by putting themselves in a box where force is more likely to be used. So I think you're right. Within 5 to 7 days, I would not be surprised if force is required. And again, it won't be a war because Iran's incapable of waging one. It will, I think, on the other hand, be a marked turning point in the region and a tremendous addition to the president's legacy of allowing the region for the first time in decades, since 1979, to be able to see a possibility without an Iranian threat looming on the horizon.
I actually have one more question. What do you see Israel's role in all this?
Israel, in a world of partners and allies that don't, rise to the occasion, I think we need more Israels. And I think Israel has been the exemplar in all of this. We've given them capacity and capability, but what they've done with it has been absolutely incredible and has reduced the burden on U.S. forces and has advanced U.S. interests markedly. And so they paved the way for Midnight Hammer, and I suspect that they'll pave the way again should we required to do it. And unlike many of our partners and allies that have been the beneficiaries of U.S. assistance, Israel has actually used it, and they've used it in collaboration with the United States, and it's markedly improved their position and ours. Again, I think they've been probably the preeminent and exemplar strategic ally.
9 million people in that country, Robert, and I would argue that their military's got to be in the top 5 or 10 of the militaries all over the world, no?
Oh, no question about it. And in the region that it lives in, it stands preeminent without question. And it's a tremendous asset for the United States to have. And it allows us really to commit our resources to other priorities because they're so capable. And in the end, I think we need more partners and allies like Israel, not less.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you. You're a good man, and we may be calling on you again next week if you don't mind. God bless you.
God bless you, sir. My pleasure.
You take care of yourself. Good man. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know what Pure Talk's favorite holiday is? President's Day. Because they believe wireless service should only cost you a couple of presidents. Just a Jackson and a Lincoln, to be exact. For $25 a month, Pure Talk gives you unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Now compare that to Big Wireless. They'd rather celebrate Benjamin Franklin Day so they can charge your family hundreds every month, and he wasn't even a president. That's not right. You deserve better. Pure Talk is an American wireless company that supports our veterans and invests in a U.S.-only customer service team. When you call, you're talking to someone right here at home. Pure Talk uses the same towers as the big carriers, so enjoy superior 5G coverage without the inflated price. Just $25 a month for talk, text, plenty of data, no contract, no cancellation fee. Don't wait any longer, folks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin. You'll get 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch to Pure Talk. Now, we haven't attacked Iran yet, at least to the best of my knowledge. We still have an hour left in this program. And I would say this. It wouldn't hurt the time you go to bed to say a prayer for our country, the commander-in-chief, our military, and the civilians who live in Iran and around that area, as well as the Prime Minister of Israel, who's been a steadfast ally and knows that that regime needs to go as well. and for the people there who will be targeted with ballistic missiles. But let's say a prayer at bedtime when you go to bed, because these are great patriots. I regret that they have to hear from self-appointed influencers who are undermining our president as commander-in-chief, who are undermining our military, but they will fail, who give aid and comfort to Iran, aid and comfort to Qatar, aid and comfort to the most radical Islamist terror groups out there, and yet live in our country and want you to believe they're America first, that they're MAGA. They're nothing of the sort. They've enriched themselves by spreading hate towards our own country, hate toward Christians and Jews. They've enriched themselves by embracing wealthy Islamist dictatorships that are spreading terrorism and destroying our schools with billions of dollars every year. I would call them traitors. They're betrayers. That's what they are. The Power Hour is next. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 1-877-381-3811. I will be on Hannity in 1 hour, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. Now, let's be clear about something. We are not going to war with Iran. We're not starting a war with Iran. The regime in Iran has been at war with us for half a century. We cannot allow the Marxists, the Islamists, the media, the neo-fascists to continue with this mantra. The Iranian regime has been at war with us for half a century. It has murdered over 1,000 Americans. It has maimed thousands more. It actively tried to assassinate our president in 2024 on 2 occasions. It seeks to assassinate Pompeo and Bolton and others. And we've had presidents that have done what? That have given them billions of dollars to try and buy peace. Biden gave them billions of dollars. Obama gave them billions of dollars. Obama gave them nuclear weapons. All they had to do is sit on their hands for 15 years, but they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. Can you name another country that we've put up with like this? Just name another one. There isn't another one. The communist Chinese dare not do this to us. The Russians dare not do this to us. The North Koreans dare not do this to us. But a throwback 7th century gang of terrorists. They do this to us. They keep punching us in the nose. Finally, we allowed Netanyahu to take care of business. It took 12 days. And the president, who dropped bombs on their nuclear sites. Reagan took out most of their Navy. That kept them in the box for a little while. But they are obsessed, relentless in the pursuit of nuclear warheads. And they are using advanced technology given to them by the communist Chinese to build ballistic missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles that can reach the United States. We talked about this last week. It was reported. They literally launched a missile into Siberia with obviously the okay by Putin. That would have been the same as launching a missile from Iran and hitting New York City. And in the face of this, the president has been negotiating. And they've made clear They're not going to surrender their ambitions. Now, what would an Obama and Biden do? They cut some kind of deal. Okay, you can have nukes, but not today, maybe 10 years from now. How about we lift all sanctions so you can make billions and billions of dollars a year selling your oil to the communist Chinese, which, of course, they use against their people, and to build more and more weapons? You can't say President Trump hasn't been patient. He has. But if the first bombing in June didn't send a lesson, then nothing's going to send a lesson. Nothing. They've made their desires known, and they have no intention of stopping, whether it's the greatest deal ever that they sign or no deal. Either way. And Khomeini gives a speech on the 17th. I went back and read the English version of it, which says exactly the opposite of what his negotiators are saying. We will not give up our nuclear program. We will not give up our uranium. We will not give up our ballistic missiles. We will give up nothing. And he's the supreme a-hole. So they had the negotiators saying one thing, and Khomeini, who's in charge, saying the other. But look, my perspective is totally different. No paper is worth anything. No agreement is worth anything. They've already demonstrated that time and time and time again. Anybody who starts attacking our country in this country with their big fat mouths, undermining our president, commander-in-chief, undermining our military, you know they're aiding and abetting the enemy. They keep waving around the shiny object, Israel, the shiny object, Netanyahu, the shiny object, the Jews. These are horrendous, hideous individuals who sound like Nazis, and more they look like Nazis. That's just the way it is. That's the unvarnished truth. It's appalling. And I want every person in the military who hears my voice to know that we, real Americans, who love this country, we thank God for you every single day. And every time I sign off on this program, I thank you as well. I've had family in the military. My family's been here about 125 years. And when World War II broke out, my mother's father, my grandfather, Mo, was 34 years old. He was a tough guy, very tough. He was about 6'2". He'd been a boxer. He made some money by driving one of these rickety trucks with the wooden frames from Philadelphia all the way to the Pittsburgh area, or coal country, that area. He and his brother-in-law, Tug, Christian, by the way, with their shovels, they would load up that truck. They would bring back the coal, and people would use it not just to warm their homes, but to cook their food. They were poor, and they worked their asses off. And as soon as we were hitting Pearl Harbor, those two men went down to a recruiting office for the Marines. They weren't drafted, they volunteered. And my grandfather, Mo, was 34. That was the age limit. And he fought in Iwo Jima and Guadalcanal. Excuse me. My great-uncle fought in Guadalcanal. My grandfather fought at Iwo Jima and Guam. And you know the story of my father. He was 17. Grew up dirt poor. But after school, when he was 15 and 16 years old, where they lived was about a mile away from the cigar factory, where my grandmother, his father, worked 12 hours, 6 days a week on the night shift. And he would go down there after school, and he'd work through much of the night to make additional money for the family. This is why I despise people like Carlson and Kelly and these other people, their families. It's just different. Different. My family knows America and fellow Americans. And he signed up when he was 17, and he lied about his age. Funny how they had birth certificates back then, too. Hakeem and Schumer. And he changed 1925 to 1924. He was caught. He took the test and all, and he got into the Army Air Corps, but he said he had to wait a year because they saw that he erased the 5 and put a 4. That's the kind of family I come from. These are the kind of people who raised me. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I want to welcome our friend Chip Roy. He's running for statewide office. And I don't understand. It's Attorney General, correct?
Yes, sir.
What's the difference between the Attorney General and the solicitor there?
The solicitor is hired by the Attorney General to argue the cases, mostly, almost entirely, the appellate cases. Ted Cruz, as you know, I think served as Solicitor General of Texas under then Attorney General Greg Abbott. So the Attorney General is the elected statewide Attorney General position. The Solicitor General is one of the, in the case of Texas, 4,100 employees that report to the Attorney General.
All right. Now, you were down there today with the president and others. Is that correct?
Yes, I was, Mark. And again, it's great to be on with you. I'm actually still down and around the Corpus Christi area. President came down and gave a great speech talking about the economy and how great it was. Had a huge line, a lot of showing, a whole lot of supporters were out early this morning, a bunch of the Texas delegation. And the president, wound up the crowd and gave him a great speech, just like the State of the Union.
And he spoke about many things, including Iran. And Iran is not going to make any kind of agreement that matters, is it?
Sure doesn't seem like it. And obviously I'm very proud of what the president did in striking at their nuclear capability. I like to avoid, as I'm sure you do, saying that we took out their nuclear capability. Until I know for sure, I'm going to assume that they've still got other operations always trying to operate. But I'm glad we struck at their nuclear capability earlier this year or this past year. And, the president is now, lining up force. And we'll see what he does. I know he's trying to push and pressure them to do the right thing, and we'll see what happens. But as he says, after 47 years of this tyrannical, evil, anti-Israel, anti-American sponsor of terror regime, the president's trying to deal with them using peace through strength. And you got to demonstrate that strength and use that strength when it's appropriate.
I just don't think it's going to happen. This regime is not going to stop any more than the North Koreans stopped with all the agreements we made with them, all the money we gave them. Also, your prior presidents who gave billions and billions of dollars to that regime and lifted sanctions and so forth and just made them stronger. And so the Israelis stepped in, the president stepped in, and I feel very confident with him as commander-in-chief, don't you?
For sure. And look, I mean it when I say, of course, you served in the Reagan administration. I grew up as a child of the Reagan administration. And by the way, I'm not trying to say that, I'm young and you're old. I'm saying that you literally were.
It's okay.
That you were literally a lawyer for them. And I grew up in the 80s, went to high school in the 80s. Right. And Reagan's peace through strength is the model. And President Trump is carrying out peace through strength. And I think people confuse things, right? I mean, they confuse a belief in peace through strength with, oh, you're trying to pull out and you're trying to be isolationist. Or conversely, they try to say, oh, well, you're not, you're too aggressive, right? No, the president is demonstrating what strength does. Maduro, right? That is a strike at Iran, a strike at China, a strike at Russia, not just a strike at the cartels, because they were all in bed with each other, right? The president siding with Israel, the president taking out Iran's nuclear capability, right? We're minimizing our footprint of war while demonstrating strength and flexing our foreign policy muscle. That's the right approach. That's what a commander-in-chief does.
I have to tell you, it's not scientific, but all the callers into this program, we've been doing this all evening, want that regime taken out. And they are very worried if we don't, that they're going to get nukes and then they're going to use them against our children and grandchildren when we're all gone. So that's the sentiment of this audience.
Well, and I remember, Mark, as you do, right, in the 90s, pre-Clinton, the talk of North Korea getting nuclear weapons, and we dilly-dallied and we played footsie with North Korea, and guess what? They got nuclear weapons. And now we have to deal with a nuclear North Korea. And, this goes way back. We got to hold firm. We don't need any more nuclear states. By the way, I made a statement on the floor of the House that rattled some people's cages when I said that we have to be equally as alarmed about a nuclear United Kingdom and a nuclear France as we do a nuclear Iran, because they're becoming the center of, the Muslim Brotherhood. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, we've got to be vigilant on the March of Islam going around the globe while we all sit around, playing footsie, and they're marching forward to undermine our Judeo-Christian values and Western civilization.
No, you're quite right. Very important point. Now, how is your campaign looking?
Well, we're feeling very good, Mark. We're out all over the state. Now, of course, I'm doing my day job. I'm a member of Congress. We have a 2-seat majority. We have an historic opportunity with President Trump in the White House. So I'm in D.C. every week for every vote. And, but when I'm home in Texas, I'm traveling all over the state. I flew back to Lubbock, Texas on Wednesday, campaigned there, drove across the state of Texas, went to Austin yesterday, drove to Corpus today, saw the president campaigning. I'll be back home tomorrow, campaigning there in San Antonio Monday. And then when the primary vote occurs on Tuesday, I got to go back to D.C. You know why? Because we have Kristi Noem in front of the Judiciary Committee on Wednesday. And I think that's an important oversight hearing. So I'm going to do my job. But the people of Texas have been very supportive. We're feeling very good. Polls show me, generally at 40 points and higher, still undecideds. We are hoping to get to 51, 50 plus one vote on Tuesday. But if not, we'll have to have a runoff. There's some guy who is a state senator who has a lot of money from his family that he inherited. He's running a bunch of ads. They're bogus ads, a lot of fake attacks. $15 million he spent, Mark, of his family money running negative ads against us. And but no, we're holding the line. People understand that I'm a fighter. I fight for them. We feel good. We feel like we're going to finish not just in first place, but with a good lead. And but it's up to God and it's up to the people. But anybody listening, please get out and vote on Tuesday. ChipRoy.com. Send me a few bucks and help us finish this race out.
Yeah, and I'm a strong endorser, I guess the word is, of Chip Roy. I've known him a long time. He's a stand-up guy. He's solid as a rock, very ethical, and you were chief of staff to Ted Cruz at one point. You worked in the state as a prosecutor at one point, and you've been absolutely stellar, and you're just a fantastic friend. I just want people to know how good this guy is. He's really that good. So go out and vote for him. Give him all the support you can give him. Give us that website again, Chip.
ChipRoy.com. Any support you can give me, a Levin surge, help me get across the finish line and go win this race, represent Texas, and fight for the people of Texas. Thanks, Mark.
Let's do it, folks. God bless, Chip. Take care of yourself, man. Levin surge, he deserves one, folks. Let's give him all the help we can. I'll be right back.
This is the nation's town hall meeting, and you can join in at 877-381-3811.
Yo. I'll be on Hannity, 9 p.m. Eastern, on Fox. We opened our lines in the first hour, and I don't blame people. They want to talk about Iran and these matters. Mr. Producer, my phone screen is not popping up. Can you give me a name and I'll work on it during the call? Joe in Virginia, the great WMAL. Joe, how are you, buddy?
Hey, good, Mark. Thank you for having me. Yes. Hey, yesterday my wife landed in Tel Aviv, and she's planning to be there for 2 weeks. She is supporting a nonprofit organization that does conflict transformation at the grassroots level. She works with Palestinians and Israelis in villages. Tonight, she's staying in Haifa for 3 days, and then she's going to Jerusalem near East. She's going to be close to East Jerusalem for 3 days. Then she goes out to the West Bank and Ramallah, and then up to Galilee, back to Jerusalem, back to Tel Aviv.
Wow.
So this evening, 2 hours ago, I sent her a text saying, of course, it's 3:30 in the morning now. They're 7 hours. Israel is 7 hours ahead of us. And I sent her a text saying that our U.S. ambassador to Israel had told the non-essential government people to leave Israel. Right. And that I also texted her that our president is not happy with how things are going in Geneva. And then I also said to her what you said 2 hours ago, is that our Secretary of State is planning to go to Israel on Monday. So please look into, an earlier return flight. But I guess my question is, Mark, if we start bombing Iran, what kind of targets do we think they're going to? Are they going to bomb the Ben Gurion airport? Are they going to bomb Jerusalem? Are they going to bomb the West?
Let me respond to you. I see you're upset. We have a family member over there too. My stepson. I don't want to get into any more details. He obviously is the senior staffer to the ambassador. What are they going to bomb? I have no idea. Do they have ballistic missiles? Yes, they do. And this is why I think Netanyahu early on told our government, this is public knowledge, to slow down, that they needed to get defensive missiles in place. I think this is why the president did slow down, is he needed to get ships in place for offensive and defensive military activity. So I don't know what they're going to aim at. I have no doubt they're going to aim at Israel. Ben Gurion Airport, I don't know. Their major cities, I don't know. So I'm sure that the intelligence and military tacticians are taking this under consideration. And I suspect the first thing they're going to want to find and hit are these ballistic missiles and their locations. And you're going to have two of the greatest fighting forces and technologically advanced fighting forces on the face of the earth looking for them. But that doesn't mean some won't get through. That doesn't mean people won't get hurt. But you can imagine if this was a country that had nuclear weapons, and they don't right now, how that would change everything. One of the things the president has been trying to negotiate at the urging of Benjamin Netanyahu is limitation on ballistic missiles, but they won't agree to that. They won't agree to that because they can destroy a lot of places and a lot of things with ballistic missiles, and they're perfecting these ballistic missiles so they can hit the continental United States. So to answer your question, of course, everybody's in danger. But I'd rather be us than them. I'd rather be us than them. The schedule that you mentioned to me, your wife, all this traveling she's doing, if she can't leave, if that's what you want her to do, my strong recommendation is to tell her to pull back on all this travel. To find a location where there are, there's safe rooms. I personally, when we were there 2 years ago and a couple of missiles were flying over Jerusalem, I personally prefer these parking lots that are underground that are built like pillboxes. People who know about World War II know what I'm talking about. That's about the best I can tell you. I mean, I don't know.
She mentioned that many of her friends in Israel have safe houses, or they have like a safe room, like a basement. But my wife's backup plan is she has friends in Cyprus, and she may be able to fly over to Cyprus to get out of harm's way.
All right. We'll keep in touch with her, give the best advice a husband can give. I don't like the fact she's traveling all over the country and even going into Ramallah and so forth. I don't think that's so wise. That's just Mark's opinion. All right, my friend. Wish you all the best of luck, Joe, and your wife, and our family, too. Let's see. Let us go to Scott, Charleston, South Carolina, the great WTMA. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
A little earlier you mentioned you didn't know what Tucker Carlson was transitioning into. I think he's transitioning into Lord Haw-Haw.
Tell me about that.
Now, well, he's giving aid and comfort to our enemies.
He sure is.
And he's working against our active objectives. So the second thing is, Mark, the reason we're here today at this point in time where we are is because a recent 8-year period, the most powerful man in the free world was Valerie Jarrett. And she had a flunky named Barack Obama.
Yeah.
But I'd like to explain
let's slow down there. That's an important point. Under the Obama plan, the president has said it correctly, we paved the way for them to have a nuclear weapon. They just wouldn't have had it on Obama's watch, which is all he seemed to care about. I even pulled out this agreement, and I read it today, from 2015, and they broke it over and over and over and over again, even though it ensured them that within a 15-year period or so, they'd have a nuclear weapon. But it wasn't fast enough. So isn't that enough, Scott, to realize that this is a dire enemy that wants to blow us off the face of the earth, this obsession with nuclear weapons?
Most assuredly, Mark. Most assuredly. I think the decision to attack was made 3 weeks ago. We're going to pull the trigger. And the reason for the 3-week delay is we needed it. We wanted it. We needed to accomplish two things. One is replenish and shore up the Iron Dome. And the other thing is the big shots in the Iranian government, if they have half a brain, they stopped using their cell phone about 3 weeks ago. So we need human intelligence on the ground in Iran to identify who their message runners are, who their drivers are, what their convoys look like. Like 2 or 3 years ago, Israel set up a flawless ambush. It was automated. They had machine guns. And I think it was a nuclear scientist, when they got in the kill zone, the machine guns did what was intended to happen, and he was taken out. We need to develop ground intelligence. And the last thing I'd like to say is, when this is over, there's going to need to be a period akin to denazification and something akin to the Nuremberg trials.
Hey, I'm with you on that. In fact, I posted on this. You're right. Very, very important point. That is, the people who organized this genocidal regime and the genocide that was taking place, they need to be held for account if they're not taken out. I got to take a hard break. Excellent, excellent call. I appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I can't believe this program's over. I can't believe the week's over. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll be on Hannity in about 10 minutes on Fox. We're going to be monitoring if anything's taking place. We're going to be monitoring it all weekend. If something does happen over the weekend, I will likely, not sure, be on Fox from time to time. I expect that some of my program on Saturday and Sunday will be preempted. I can't be sure. But keep your eyes peeled, as we like to say. I think justice is about to be unleashed. Hopefully sooner than later. On pure evil. The devil's creation. These Islamist Nazis. For 47 years they've gotten away with this. Not another country on the face of the earth could treat us this way and survive. And then threaten us with potential nuclear weapons. I mean, you'd have to be insane not to try and put an end to that. They've been at war with us. We've not been at war with them. And we've barely even defended ourselves. That's the truth. Don't forget, folks, you have our 6 first episodes of Liberty's Voice. You can see it at YouTube. You can see it at Rumble. You have the weekend. I hope you'll enjoy them. They're all up there for you. Remember, you can subscribe to some podcasters and you can unsubscribe too. So if you're offended by the language and the conduct and the Jew hatred and the anti-Semitism and all the rest, unsubscribe. We go to America every Friday in honor of you. Here we go. literally in a few minutes, I'll see you on Fox on Hannity, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you'll join us. A lot going on. The week is officially over and the weekend begins right now. We salute our armed forces. We sure do. Police officers, firefighter, emergency personnel, and our truckers. And ICE. And ICE. Good night, Spritey and Griffey and Pepsi. Good night, Smokey and Zelda and Gigi. Good night, Indy and Patton and Rory. Good night, Marty. And good night, Barney. Good night, Dad. Good night, Mom. We're holding down the fort here. Good night, Leo. Good night, Joe. Good night, Bernard. Good night, Teddy. Good night, Lou. Good night, all you great patriots. And don't forget to watch us on Life, Liberty, and Levin, 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Sunday night. Set your DVRs. We're in this together, America. We're going to do the right thing, and hopefully soon. And we'll put that enemy where that enemy belongs, deep in the ground and deeper yet into hell. Be safe. Go, America. Get Khomeini.